So what I wanted to start with is I picked canary, walnut, cherry, and Purdue as what I was going to use. I'm kind of liking the look of canary now, so that's one of the reasons I picked that. But you can do anything you want. I mean, anything will work. You know, that's walnut, cherry, Purdue, cherry, and Purdue again. I think that's mahogany, if I remember right. Walnut, that's either hard maple or bird's eye, and mahogany on top. This is one of my favorites. I know it's not a bowl, but I love the look of bird's eye maple with mahogany. I think that's a good combination. It's one of my favorites, and it's one of the first ones I ever did like that. It's beautiful. And again, I know this isn't a bowl, but bacon Purdue. Just so you know, it was my first attempt at dovetails. If you've been here at all, you've heard me talk about my Shaper Origin. I love that tool. Well, I made this using that because they have a program that allow you to plug in those dovetails like that. So, but I brought it because I wanted you to see the bacon Purdue, and this has Rubio monocoat on it. It's just, I don't know, that's beautiful. I'm not giving that away. Oh, and then walnut, and then there's another one that I kind of like is this. This is bloodwood. So any of that would look good in a bowl. So the bowls that we're doing today are, I've laminated them horizontally, top to bottom, but I've seen online stuff where people glue boards together vertically, so you just got lines, and I think that looks nice, but it seems a little busy to me. So, but what I think I'm going to try next, and then we'll get going, is I think the next bowl I build, I'm going to actually, I'll do it horizontally like that, but I'm going to laminate some pieces through that wood. I think that could look fun. So my point is that you can do anything and get away with it. It'll look fine. Yep. Come on in. You haven't missed anything. Just me yakking.
Yeah, that's fine. Just wherever you can squeeze in.
Yeah, good. So over on that table is a glue up. That's how it begins. I didn't think you needed to watch glue dry. But that's not an alert on my phone, is it? So I've glued all that up. Every square inch of the wood gets glue. And then don't spare the clamps. Make sure those are torqued pretty good. I want to make sure that gets squeezed together. And what I find is that when you get into half-inch lumber or quarter-inch lumber, it can start to cup. So what I'll do when that happens, because it happened there, it happens on all of them, is I take that cup part and I put it to the middle, and then I squish that together, and I've never had any problem with anything coming apart. And another thing I do as far as the glue up goes is, if you can just show that, Kim, is if you can see that, the bottom board is about 1/8 of an inch wider than the others. And I do that because, that's good, because I want a straight edge when I'm finished so that I can take it to the table saw and rip it down. I could do it at the jointer, and I do at the jointer once in a while, but we don't happen to have a jointer here, so this one here ended up, I just ripped it. I used that straight edge to do my rips, so not, because I want those two sides to be parallel. It's just a whole lot less problems when you get to doing your final finished shape. So
Are those the finished edges then?
they're actually, it's cut a little bit wide,
Okay,
and we're going to sand down just a little bit.
okay. That's what I was wondering.
Yeah. But since I didn't have access to the table saw, I went ahead and trimmed this in a little bit closer than I normally would. I would keep it a little bit wider. Because actually, when I start out, I allow probably 3/4 of an inch wider than the width of the bowl, the finished width of the bowl. And I cut the boards about 3 inches longer than normal. And that's just to allow me plenty of room to get that screwed down. You could cheat a little bit if you want to or need to. You just need to be able to secure that template to your piece. You don't want to do double-sided tape. You got to screw that down. You don't want that thing moving on you. So before I dive into that just too far, I actually bought, or didn't buy it, but I used 1/2-inch cherry because we sell 1/2-inch cherry. I have before taken 3/4 inch and planed it down to 1/2 inch. It's just a time thing. Works just fine. To get the 1/4 inch pieces of Paduke, what I did is I resawed this. So it actually goes like that. And I did it on my table saw. The bandsaw, I usually don't resaw anything more than about 3 inches on my bandsaw. I just don't. I never have really good luck with that. And I don't have the depth for 5.5 inches or so on my bandsaw. So what I do is I just centered that blade on the wood and I run it and I run it and then I raise the blade and run it and run it. And that's how I generate that. It's a good way to do it if you're comfortable doing that. If you aren't, don't do it. You know, figure out a different way. Because I think we actually sell 1/4 inch lumber out there, right, don't we?
We do, and actually we got a bunch of new 1/4 inch stock in this week, so it's over in the far corner over there.
Yeah.
Check that out.
So my point is that you don't have to do what I did. You still have access to 1/4 inch lumber, and a lot of times like that Paduke is like 7/8 of an inch. So man, that's nice because then it means that I can. My woodworker 2 blade is, I think, 3/32, so I can actually rip that and still plane or sand that down to 3/8, so I can get a 3/8 if I need it. So that's kind of fun. But anyway, so what I did is I ripped that board in half and then I planed these down to 1/4 inch, and that's how I arrived at that. Templates, you can buy them. If you got a CNC, that's golden. If you know somebody with a CNC, that's really golden. You can cut them by hand. You know, you can just drill a hole and cut. The thing about a template is it needs to be smooth edged. You don't understand that. I mean, the bearings are riding on that, so wherever there's a bump, there's going to be a bump. So you just got to work at it a little harder. Now this one, I actually did just the other day because I needed it for the demo, but I actually did it on the Shaper Origin, which is it's a handheld CNC machine. So I just made an oval and cut it. So it's important, I guess, you know, edges got to be smooth, whatever you want to do. You'll notice that there's some different, let me just go over there real quick. You know, you can do anything you want. And I have. You know, it's just an oval like that one. And there's one like that. I mean, you're kind of up to your imagination. I will mention this one real quick because this is actually the bowl. I put this on the blank and I screwed it down, but I didn't do anything with this center section. I forgot to, actually. I should have put a little double-sided tape on it, but I didn't. And so what happened was I started routing this, and you can see that that starts to move. Well, I didn't see that at the time. So I'm just going. And then all of a sudden I'm getting deeper and deeper, and it's starting to, my line is getting thinner right through that center section there. And that was because that thing's moving on me. So I thought, well, okay. So I just keep going, and I called it, that's what I wanted. You know, so that stuff can happen, you know, just be aware of it. Yeah, see? So.
Gives us an opportunity to try again.
Well, it could have. I mean, it could have gone south on me and ruined it. It didn't. And like I said, outside of you guys, no one else knows that that isn't the way I wanted it. So if you don't rat me out, we're still good. So we're going to use the CMT rabbiting bit like this. It's an 1.25 inches in diameter. It's got a 1/4 inch radius. And I'm going to use this collet extension. And that's, you chuck the bit into the collet, just like you would on a router, tighten it up, and then you put that whole unit into the router, and you're ready to go. I did bring one of these. This is just, I think it's called a clean-out bit. But theoretically, you could do the same thing with this, depending on what you're trying to do. If you don't need to cut very deep, maybe you're doing some sort of a valet or something for your dresser, and you don't need that depth, this might be just an excellent bit also. And you can get them in a little bit varied lengths and whatnot. So, I mean, you don't have to use this. You just need this for what we're doing today. But there are other options out there for different things, so just keep that in mind. And so I don't forget, the big thing on either one of these is when you make that first cut, and I'll point it out again when I start it, but when you make that first cut, and especially on a little bit like this, because like some of those purchased templates, they're going to be 1/4 inch or maybe 3/8. They might be 1/2 inch, but probably not. Man, you gotta make sure when you drop that router bit for the first time that it hits template good. I ruined a template one time because I didn't drop it down far enough, and somehow I don't know how it happened, but it nicked the template. And once that happens, it's just, all it is acrylic then. So be advised of that. I didn't want you to have to watch through everything, so I did kind of cheat a little bit, and I did do some cutting. So, well, we're not going to do this one today. This is a bowl that's obviously been gouged out. Now this particular one, just so you know, took around, I think it was every bit of 25 minutes. I don't think it was 30. But that's what it took for me to do that. So, I mean, just giving you an idea about time. So, and one other thing, and I don't know if you can point that out, maybe, right in there. I don't know if you can see that or not. But I got it, there's a little step there, because when I plunged down on that, I didn't have enough meat for that spur on the Forstner bit to grab hold of, and it did that. So just
drifted a little bit.
Yep. So be advised that those kind of things can happen, and I'm going to cover that a little bit more as we get going. And so this one here, I did most of it yesterday. This is the bowl we're going to actually work on, so I'm going to go ahead and gouge out the rest of this. That took more than 10 minutes, less than 15 to do. One of the key things here is when you set that Forstner bit depth, you know, you got to take into consideration the spur on that Forstner bit, because you're going to want that to route away too, so don't drop too deep into the cavity. So I just visualized it. I didn't measure it, but
Are you shooting for a certain, like, when you're taking that last pass off with the router bit, is it like an eighth or?
the only thing I want is I want probably at least a 1/4 inch of that. On this one, it'll be walnut. I want at least a 1/4 inch or so of that walnut to show. So that's kind of how I targeted this. I will tell you that I've lost track of things before, and you know, you're just a gouging away, and you're just a routing, and this, the one that I'm talking about, it was actually an oval, and I thought, man, that's cool, and I picked it up, and I happened to grab it in the bottom, and I thought, oh, that bottom's kind of spongy, and son of a buck, I don't know, I lost track somehow. I just did. I did. So, yeah, I ended up putting my finger through it, and so that went to the trash can right away. And that was like an hour out of your life you can't get back. But
Put another bottom on.
could have, but I guess I didn't think about that. Could have, but I just got irritated too. So anyway, those things can happen. Be aware of it, and know that mistakes happen. So I think the first thing we'll do is I'm going to go ahead and route this out, and then once we route it out, then we're going to set it on the table and we'll route it. So let me do that quick. Shouldn't take very long. So if any of you want face mask or hearing protection, you help yourselves. I'm going to do it this time. I don't always, but I like to tell you that I do.
Does anybody want a mask or anything?
And I'm going to go ahead and put my headphones on just because. So what I've done here is I went ahead and routed out. I routed out 4 pockets here. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to rotate this, then I don't have to reset the fence. So I'll route again. Okay?
Drill.
Yeah, I'm sorry, drill.
How close are you getting to the edge?
Oh,
Finished at?
it's an 1/8 of an inch or so anyway.
Okay.
You don't want to go over that line. It really, you don't want to go over that line. So I'm going to plunge, and then you're going to see me move. I'm going to plunge here. I'm going to plunge here, and then I'm going to come back over here. And I'm going to plunge again, and then I'm going to move back, and I'll plunge again. Because what happens is if I do 3 in a row, and then I go to route this at this very corner here, that's going to get that spur, doesn't have enough meat to dive into. So I'm going to route that corner first, and then I'll come back and I'll clean out that little bit that was left there. You'll understand it when you see me do it. You know, another thing you're going to see me do is I'm going to be sucking these chips out all the time. You do it every time you plunge. And the other thing you're going to notice me doing, and if you don't remember anything else, remember this, is that you're going to see me pull that away, and I'm going to run this vacuum right along that, and I'm going to keep the bit spinning. You don't have to. You may, and if you're not comfortable doing it, don't do it. I'm going to do it. So, but you just got to be careful. Know what you're doing. If you're not comfortable with it, don't do it. Shut the machine off. But you want that clean because you want this up against that fence. If there's chips there and that comes away and you don't catch it, it's trouble in River City. So anyway, that was the other thing I wanted to mention, and you'll see me do it. So here we go. Wish me luck. Can you see that, how I'm overlapped? It gives you an idea just about how much I'm overlapped. Now I'm going to come back and make sure that I'm not cutting too far into that corner. See how that slipped? If I didn't catch that, I'd have screwed that up. Now I can come back and cut that centerpiece. Now I need to reset the fence, but is there anybody got any questions or anything they want while I'm doing this?
That Forester bit get pretty hot going down. If you you plunge all the way to as far as you're gonna go and eat all at once.
Yeah, I back it out just a hair, but not much. Mostly because I'm just not patient enough, I guess. But it seems okay. It's working fine. But you saw what I meant about that corner and how then I came back, and it works better that way. So you'll notice that when I was doing those center parts, you saw me slow down that plunge quite a bit. There wasn't a lot of, there's just not as much meat there for that spur and then the Forstner bit to deal with. So the slower you plunge, the more control you're gonna have. So that's why I did that. Looking pretty ugly right now. One thing I didn't mention, and I should have, the bit is 1.25 inches diameter. That's 1 3/8 Forstner. I probably could have used a bigger one and then swapped out later or whatever, but for time's sake I didn't want to do that. But you definitely want at least the diameter of the bit you're using. You want that for your bit. Otherwise you're going to bore a hole that bearing can't get into because it's, you know what I'm saying? You understand? Yeah. So, but anyway, so that was 1 3/8 because I wanted to give it a little bit of room. Because I found before that when I use this bit and I do 1.25 inches, when I get to that corner, it works, but it hits and then it's got a, there's no real round to it. It just hits it and then goes, you know, can't explain any better, but I like it to have just a little bit of relief there as I'm routing it. So that's that. Is there any questions on that before we move on? I mean, did I explain it well enough? Did you okay, good.
I would be afraid to hold that on there without a clamp, because it could move on you.
It can, and maybe you couldn't tell. I mean, I was doing this. I was braced, and I had a good hand on that, and I was pressing up against that fence pretty good so that it would move. And you did see it move a little bit that one time. It got away from me just a hair. So that can happen for sure.
How well I know.
So, yes, sir.
Yeah, is there, you may have mentioned this and I didn't hear it, is there a reason why you work from the outside in and not the inside out? What's the benefit or drawback one way or the other?
I don't know that there would be. I just set up the fence and then I can do the outside and then rotate it 180 and do it again, and that's just how I choose to do it, I guess. The one thing is if you're not comfortable doing what I did, don't do it. If you want to drill less holes, drill less holes. It's okay. Because, I mean, you still got to route it anyway, so the router can do a lot of the work for you too. So had I felt like, well, and like this here, I gave up on that. I mean, I didn't try to work that anymore. I thought, the router will just have to deal with it, and that's what's going to happen.
Can you make it work with a temporary fence on your drill press table versus a permanent like that?
You could. All you'd have to do is you probably a little bit more fussing because you need to clamp a face in some fashion to your yeah. But you absolutely could. Just a couple of clamps like this would work.
Okay.
So yeah, it was a good question. That was it's a fairly low speed. I think it's about as low as this turns. It's like 800 RPM or something like that. You definitely don't want that thing spinning just too terrible fast. So low speed on the Forstner bit for sure. So the next thing we're going to do is get ready to route. The one thing I forgot to mention, and you've probably seen it on the video, but when I put this template on to begin with, I traced around the whole thing. So I had pencil marks to see where I'm going. I didn't point that out, but that's what I did. And the other thing I do is when I put that template on there, I'll make an X on the template and an X on the workpiece so that I know which way it goes. Because even though this would be obvious, if it were an oval where there was no, if you've already drilled those holes, they may or may not line up. So then you just got, it's a drag. So if you mark it ahead of time, you'll be happy. So I'm going to go ahead and secure that. And you can tell when that screw drops down into a hole. Now I didn't double side tape this, and since I've already screwed it in, I'm not going to do it. But this isn't as wide, so it may not flex as much. But let's all learn and see how this works. 1, 2. Oh. Next thing I want to do is I need to secure that. And I didn't have a bench dog hole over on this side, so I'm just using a couple of clamps. And then this little Craig vise thing, which is pretty handy. I kind of like that. I use it quite a bit at home. So that's secured now, not going anywhere. So the next step is in fact going to be getting at it.
What's the maximum depth you're comfortable going with that bit before you need the extension?
Oh, well, the bit has a depth, I think, is it a 1/2 inch? 5/8 of an inch. So you can go 5/8 of an inch is what you can do without a collet extension. And another thing I guess I didn't mention is all these blanks that I'm doing are between 2 inches and 2.5 inches. I've not done anything deeper. I'm not exactly sure how deep that would go. It's not going to go much more than 2.5 inches. That's a pretty major extension when it's down like that. So, and as far as the bowl concerned, that's pretty comfortable, that 2 1/4. This is 2 inches, so we're going to be going down an 1.5 inches or whatever. And the only reason I did that is just to save just a little bit of route time instead of going down to a little bit further. So it'll still look good. So I think this one can get out of the way now. I don't think we need it. Yeah. So we're going to set the router up here. And what I'm going to do is, and I've already done this, but I'll just go ahead and redo it. So I'm going to plunge my bit, and I'm going to plunge it till it hits the wood. So now it's zeroed, and I'm going to drop my depth stop. And I'm going to catch that at that top part of the turret. So when I drop this, I'll rotate that turret 1/8 of an inch. I think that's 1/8 of an inch step. And then I'll drop it and I'll start routing. But I want to dang well make sure, like I told you earlier, that that bearing is fully engaged on that template. So if I have to drop it a little deeper, I will, but it looks like I'm going to be okay. Matter of fact, I might even just do that one more time. Yeah, we'll do that. This way. This is where it's going to get noisy, so moment of truth.
What is it you say? Rock and roll hoochie coo?
That's what I say when it works. It hasn't worked yet, so it's going to work. And I think what I'm going to do is, I've already plunged this So I'm going to go ahead and just leave it plunged. I'm going to move it in and catch the template and start routing, and I'm going to go around the perimeter. If it wasn't already hogged out, you'd want to go the perimeter and then back and forth or sideways or whatever to clean out the middle. Then you just keep going until you're done. Now that I have this depth set, I'll route this side, and then I'm going to lift it over, and I'm going to do the other side, and then we'll plunge down again, and we'll just keep going that way. And somebody asked earlier about this plate that I'm using. It's a 1/2 inch acrylic. This happens to be 12 by 12. It can be whatever, but it needs to be, obviously it has to be wider than the opening you're trying to route. So just keep that in mind. Somebody asked me where I got it. I got this plate from Regal Plastics. They used to be in Clive over there on Swanson Boulevard, but I think they moved to Grimes. But I don't know the address or anything. But if you're looking for it, I think you can just call them up and you can order it and they'll cut it for you. I had to obviously cut the center out and then all the holes to mount the plate and everything, but that's where I got the acrylic. This is a 1/2 inch. I think probably 3/8 would work just as well. I don't think it's going to flex. Some guys will use just bolted birch or MDF or something, and then just, you know, cut a hole in that. And the thing about that is I can't see, and I really kind of like seeing what I'm doing, so that's why I chose the acrylic. So, okay. Let me just grab a quick drink here. This is straight water. Now would be a good time to wish Denny luck too.
That's pretty smooth.
So I'm going to reset that depth now. You saw me kind of doing some of this. That was me moving chips around so that they're not, because this will run, I mean the bearing will ride on chips just like it will the template. So I was trying to move chips around a little bit so that it was a good fit to the bearing was getting a good grip on the template, because it generates chips.
How deep are you going each time?
I think that stepper is 1/8 of an inch, and believe me, that's enough. I mean, it's just better on the bit, and it's way better on me. I mean, it's not hard, but it's just 1/8 of an inch. Don't get greedy. Even though you want to be in a hurry, you know, I want to be in a hurry, but you just can't. And you notice that when I went from one side to the other, that I actually stopped the bit. I stopped the router and then lifted it up. That was good. I don't always do that, you know, but you should. So, do as I say, not always as I do. So I've routed all the material away. Now I'm going to go a little bit deeper now to get rid of those spurs. And it looks like I got a little something here on the edge. I'm going to, when I get done, before I finish this, I'm going to raise that bit back up and I'm going to go back around this and see if I can't clean that little bit up. I'm not sure what that is, but if I can, I will. Otherwise, it'll sand away. But anyway, we're still good so far. So now that I'm here, I'm going to plunge and I'm going to start moving just as I plunge, because now I am digging into wood. Before I just been kind of scuffing it away, but so you're almost always going to have some sort of a mark you're going to have to sand away when you drop that bit. I've never done one yet that I didn't have to work on it a little bit. But if I plunge and move at the same time, it might minimize that just a little bit. So that's what you're going to see me do. One more depth. Well, it turned out pretty good. The only thing I got going on is there's some little thing going on at the very top here that I'm going to end up sanding away, but it'll sand away. Our next deal then is to go ahead and we can pull this template off now. And actually, I think what I'll do is I'll sand the perimeter first. Or actually, I'll cut it on the bandsaw, then sand it, and then we'll sand the inside. Are you guys doing okay? I knew this was going to take a while.
With a bit that size, what speed are you running your trouter?
I think that was at 2. I slowed it down quite a bit. Yeah, I don't run it up high speed. And that worked real good. It felt good. So, all right. Oh, there's where we are so far. So the next thing I guess I should have done before I actually loosened it was.
It comes out smoother than I thought it would.
Yeah, it actually does pretty good. And this is one of the better ones I've done. In that, a lot of times, there's scuffs and stuff on the bottom of that bit when you're plunging and everything, but actually it did pretty well. So there won't be as much sanding to fix that. But what I'm going to do now, real quick, is I'm going to draw a perimeter around. And on this one, I think, just in the interest of time, I'm going to do 3/8 of an inch. Then I don't have to sand away near as much material. But I've done 3/8, I've done a 1/4 inch. I mean, you could do finer if you want, just whatever you want. But I think this will look fine. And believe me, this is a by guess and by golly. I mean, I'm not handy using a compass, especially when I'm in the middle of a room full of people. I think I'm gonna go ahead and make this a little bit bolder here on the sides, because I'm gonna pretty much do the sides and then I'll do the ends, I believe is how I'm gonna actually sand it. Bandsaw is not my forte. I like a bandsaw, but I wouldn't say I'm any good at it. So bear with me on that. Be good if Kim put that out of focus probably. Okay. I'd have been doing this at the shop, or if I had access to that chop saw, I probably would have just hacked this off on both ends, turned it at a 45, hacked it again, because I got lines there, and then I would have just sanded from there. But I knew we wouldn't have access to the chop saw. So band saw it is. So now I'm gonna use this on the
Oscillating drum sander.
oscillating drum sander. There you go. I have this, and I have an edge sander at home, and sometimes I'll use the edge sander if I've got quite a bit to sand away, because it's pretty darn aggressive. But it's a little iffy when you start doing when you start making that turn. So it is actually. So I'm going to use this. You could use a random orbit sander too. It's a lot more of your life going away. So, all right. Sanding's almost like watching paint dry, huh? Well, I think this actually turned out pretty nice. I mean, I did that compass work. It looks like a drunk did it. But, so I kind of followed the lines a little bit, but then it's just whatever you think looks good. If I were doing this in the shop, I probably would have taken a little more time. But what I would have done for sure is I would have, when I ripped that on the table saw, I would have got it closer to width, the final width to begin with, so there isn't as much sanding to do. But it's pretty good. I mean,
Great.
So the next thing we want to do is we can either finish sand or I got to get into this. But in the interest of time for everybody, I'll do the inside a little bit because I got a couple of things I do there. So what I'm going to do is I won't worry about that. But I have a chucked up a 3-inch sanding pad. I think they use these a lot in sanding bowls and stuff. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to just try sanding the bottom a little bit. This is a 180 grit sandpaper that I'm using. The bottom was in pretty good shape. So what I'll eventually do is go back and sand that with a hand. I'll just take some sandpaper in my hand and I'll kind of sand it a little bit. I just got this little gizmo. We'll see how this works. And this is 180 grit sandpaper also. It's in pretty good shape. Again, there'll be a little bit of hand sanding you do with this. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to quick round over the corners here. And I think what I'm going to do is, on this one I thought maybe I would just do the 1/16 inch. I'm going to give that a try, just to knock the edge off.
Favorite?
Yeah, his favorite. I use it now a little bit. But I thought I'll try a 1/16 of an inch just to knock the edge down. But then it's a little bit of flat amongst all the round. So we'll see what that looks like. If it doesn't work, we'll just keep routing. I'm going to just do a little check here. But I almost always try to check my cuts before I dive into the real piece. No, let's give that a try. So I'm just using a trim router with a 1/16 inch round over, and I've just got a little piece of hardboard that I double stuck tape to the base of my router to give me a little more surface area.
Thinking you need more, right?
I'm thinking I do. So it's good on the outer edges. I might either sand that a little bit or, because it's actually just right in here. It doesn't seem to bite it quite as hard. So I might just sand that a little bit on the with a hand sander, and then that'll be good. So the next thing would be doing sanding all around the perimeter and getting that, any burn marks and anything you got, just get rid of it. Do you want me to see me do that? Okay. And then the last thing I'd be doing is putting this on the router table and doing a round over on the bottom. You know, the difference here is it's just how deep you raise that bit to do that, to create that shoulder. And I kind of like that little shoulder. I've done both, but I really like that, the effect of.
Round over did you use?
I think it's a 1/2 inch, yep. Yep.
You use like a salad bowl finish there?
Well, good question, because I was going to bring that up. I wanted to end with that. In that, there's a bunch of cans over there, and I've used all of those. The salad bowl, it works fine. But what I found is about a year or so, you got to do it again. It dries up. I really like that satin gel finish over there. That's one of my favorites. But it's an oil base, so it's going to warm it up just a little bit. But you just,
Safe for food then, or whatever they're doing?
it will be, yeah, just let it cure about 30 days or so, and it'll be fine. I use it on my charcuterie boards and stuff all the time. Yeah. I've used a gloss. A lot of guys use, I don't know if I've used this, I think I have, but a lot of guys talk about the Armor Seal. They like that. I tend to like a satin finish a little better than a gloss, so that's what I gravitate to. But like I told you before, like these here, that was sanded to 180 grit, and then I used the pure Rubio Monocoat. It's a one and done thing. The only thing I haven't done, and I may do, and I think we talked about this in the Rubio thing, is I might go back and add a Sheen Plus to it and see if it doesn't kind of spunk it up just a little bit. So, but that's what I do for finish and stuff. So, you have any questions? Did I explain it well enough for you? I mean, do you feel like you saw what you need to see? Good. This is all kind of a work in progress. Kim got all this monitor stuff going, and oh, is it you having trouble? Oh,
One's going.
so anyway, we're a work in progress, and hopefully we'll be doing more of this kind of stuff. I still have hopes of doing box joints with that iBox jig someday. But you guys should all suggest things. If you got something you want to see, either tell one of the sales guys or email us or whatever, and let us know what you're wanting, and we'll try to deliver as best we can.